We're going to begin by practicing some posterior pelvic tilts to connect to the lumbopelvic region, the center of our bodies. As you exhale, flatten your back. Feeling your low back press into the ground and a little bit of toning in your abdomen. If you feel it all in your legs, that's okay too. Keeping the eyes closed if that's reasonable for you. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale and flatten the back. Inhale, neutral spine. Exhale, flattening the back. Walk your feet so that they're parallel to your hips if they were wider like mine were. And then just lift one knee so that you're just holding it here. Staying deeply connected to breath, maybe breathing more into your ribs now than you were before. And deeply connected to your core. Spread the toes of the lifted leg. Straighten this lifted leg out and then lower and lift. You can add breath patterning to this movement if you'd like. So exhale down, inhale up, or vice versa. But I'm interested in you staying connected in your low back to the ground. So last two. And then draw this knee into your chest. Cross it over your other thigh, perhaps. And go ahead and let these knees drop over to your left if it was your right leg, or your right if it was your left leg. Eyelids heavy, breath easy, shoulders heavy. There's no need to look a certain way. On your inhale, rise back through to neutral. Unravel your legs. Go ahead and take just a nice neutralizing bridge pose, rising up and lowering down. We're going to flatten the back with the exhale and keep that right foot in line with the right hip, left foot in line with the left hip. Draw the left shin to parallel to the ground. So just holding it here takes a little bit of effort. See if you can breathe more into the sides of your ribs while still maintaining the back engaged. And then raising the legs straight up to the sky to straighten it out. Exhale, lower down, tracing a straight line. Still staying connected. Inhale up or vice versa. Breath matches movement so you get your flow on. Down and up. As you go down, don't feel any need to get close to the floor. Pay way more attention to where you go that's still in line with keeping your low back engaged. And then draw your knee to your chest. Maybe cross it over your other thigh and take this gentle twist to the other side. So again, it's not about how far you go or what it looks like, but take this little twist to the other side. Shoulders heavy. Inhale fully back to neutral. And then please just cross whatever leg is on top over your other thigh at the ankle. So ankle over thigh. And you're going to bring your hands to the back of your head. Float your leg that's on the ground, in my case my right leg, and I'm going to float it up so that the shin is parallel to the floor. Left ankle is over the right thigh. Both ankles are pretty active here, so I'm flexing, dorsiflexing the ankles, spreading the toes. Hands behind the head. As you exhale, curl up from the tailbone. Keep the head heavy. Inhale down. Exhale, curl up from the tailbone, so it's a really subtle action. Inhale down. It's not trying to draw the shin closest possible position to the chest. It's trying to take the pelvis and tilt it backwards, just like we were doing a moment ago. Curl the tailbone. And curl. And lower. Two more. And this time as you curl it up, also curl up through the upper body and just hold. Think about your lowest ribs dropping down to the ground, your front hip points drawing back and up. Try to shrink the space at the front of your body, lengthening the space at the back of your body, tailbone still lifting. Shoulder blades may or may not be fully off the floor. Neck is relaxed. And then slowly lower down. Unravel your legs. Walk your feet a little bit forward. Option 1, you can keep your feet flat for a regular low bridge. Option 2, if you want to start to warm up your hamstrings, dig your heels in, rise up through the hips, activating the back legs a little bit more. We're going to do 3 bridges. So either heels dig in and hamstrings light up, or you work with just the feet down. If you get any cramp, then definitely shake out the legs. See if you can lower down this last bridge, vertebra by vertebra, really connecting to nourishing the low back. Set your feet a little closer in again. Cross your other ankle over your other knee. And you're going to flatten the back. Keep that connection to the ground as you float your, in this case, left shin parallel to the ground. Feet are active, toes curl back towards the knees. And then hands to the back of the head. See if you can interlace the hands in the opposite direction just to kind of switch things up for your brain. And then exhale, curl the tailbone. Inhale down. Exhale, curl the tailbone. Elbows are wide, head is resting right now. Curl. So you're tilting the pelvis back. Ideally, this is happening from the muscles between the front of the pelvis and the low ribs. And then as you lift up next time, also lift up your shoulder blades, lift up your head. It's not about trying to bring the shin as close as possible to the chest. This is very much about trying to press the middle of your back down into the ground to create buoyancy in the upper back and in the lower back, the sacrum, the pelvis. And it's also about activating the muscles between the front of your pelvis and the lowest part of the ribs. One more breath here. Breathing into the side ribs, shaking and enjoying it. Inhale down and exhale, release. Let your knees just drop side to side, as much space as you have. You can see I'm limited. You might also hear a little bit of my floor creaking in class, and if you do, that's what that noise is. And then we're going to quickly roll over to one side and come onto hands and knees. Set your hands under your shoulders or even a little bit in front of the shoulders. So hands under the shoulders tends to be a little bit aggravating if you have any wrist issues. But hands in front of the shoulders can feel a little bit nicer just to take care of that. Let's move through cat and cow. Inhale, belly down, heart forward. Exhale, round up towards the sky. Inhale, belly down, heart forward. Exhale, round up towards the sky. 2 more just like this. And then finding neutral, we'll warm up our shoulders a little bit more specifically. Lower down onto your forearms, interlacing your fingers optionally, and then just round and lean forward. Inhale, maybe sag through the chest, creating a little indentation between your shoulder blades. Exhale and round forward. So this is scapular protraction, and then scapular retraction as your shoulder blades move towards one another. I'm going pretty quickly, but you can feel free to move at a pace that works for your body. Good. And now that we've warmed up the shoulder blades as far as protraction and retraction goes, I want you just to round your upper back and breathe into your upper back. Shake your head out a little bit and keep driving your elbows down into the ground. This is going to be letting the shoulder blades lift up a little bit, so upward rotation and elevation that's required as we move later in practice into downward facing dog. Shake out your head. Make sure that the neck is nice and loose. The head is heavy. And then curl your toes under. Come back onto hands and knees. Again, hands can be a little bit in front if that's easier for you. Lift up your knees and just rock a little bit forward and back. Doesn't have to be the biggest motion, just a little bit. And then settle down. And place your left hand right under your nose. You're going to reach your right arm up by your ear and down. Up by your ear and down. Up and down. Up and down. Switch hands. So the right hand is under your nose now, and there's a pressing down action. You're not sagging into it. So pushing down and reaching your other arm. Up and down. And then settle both hands down. If it's tolerable for you, keep your toes curled under, maybe even spread apart a little bit on your sticky mat. Hopefully you have a sticky mat. And then just press in and feel the toes spread and bend here. If you look between your knees and you can see your toes, you want your big toes to be facing forward and separated from the other toes a little bit. From here, let's drive up into a short downward facing dog. Pressing the hands down into the floor. Feeling the arches lift up on the inner aspect of the leg. Driving the hips high, high, high to the sky. Shake out your head. And then settle your knees right back down. We've got a little bit more here. So I want you to drop your left hand down into the ground and bring your right hand to the back of the head. Now, I always find this to be kind of like muscularly challenging. It looks really simple though. So right hand to the back of the head, left hand to the ground. Separate your knees a little bit so that you can rotate your spine up and under your top arm. And then under and tuck like you're trying to go into thread the needle shape. So push the arm down that's on the floor, lift up, and then exhale and tuck it down a little bit. Press and lift. Exhale, curl. Press and lift. Exhale, curl. Press and lift. Exhale, curl. Press and lift. Exhale and curl. And then we're going to switch sides. So right hand down to the ground, left hand to the back of the head. Press and lift. So there's a twisting action. And then there's so much shoulder stabilizing that's happening here. Last one, curl it under. Find your way back to neutral. Walk your hands out a little bit further, rise into your downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, arms, shoulder blades active, ribs in, rise to your tiptoes, shift forward to plank. Stay connected in your core, squeeze through your glutes. Inhale up and back, downward facing dog. Exhale, shift it forward. You're always welcome to do plank with your knees down, squeeze through the glutes, round through the upper back. Exhale, downward facing dog. And then this last one, roll it forward. Squeeze, glutes active, round through the upper back. Drop through your knees, shift back. Active child's pose. And then come on to your belly. Elbows under the shoulders, forearms rooting to the ground. Let's do a little bit of rotation. Look over your right shoulder, over your left shoulder. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that my shoulders are really, really getting into this. I'm not just turning my head to look over the shoulder. Feel how your upper back moves. Your ribs should also move. And as you look over your right shoulder next, bend your right knee. As you look over your left shoulder next, bend your left knee. Right. And left. And right. And left. Good. Come back to center. Wiggle your elbows out a little bit more so they look like a big diamond and the forearms are closer to parallel to the front of the mat. And then just lean right and left. So this is more about your shoulder blades moving on your back rather than the rotation of the back itself. Hands back. Drive up through half plank or table. Rise up and back, downward facing dog. Stay connected to breath. We're going to walk our hands all the way back to the back of the yoga mat. Even though walking back action engages some of the stabilizing muscles of the shoulder blades. Take a little bend in your knees, and on your inhale, rise halfway up. On your exhale, fold it down, head heavy. Inhale, arms up, rise up to a stand at the back of your mat. Draw your ribs in, press your palms together over the heart. Interlace your fingers, press the palms forward. Just notice which finger is interlaced, and as the arms go up overhead, lean to one side. Take a deep breath into the side body. Inhale to neutral, switch the interlace of the fingers, and exhale to the other side, letting your pelvis move opposite of your head and your shoulders. Inhale, rise up to neutral, hands to the back of the head, lift the chest, and then exhale, lower right back down, letting your knees bend as you lower. Walk it right back out, downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward plank. Exhale and lower your knees down to the ground. You're going to straighten one leg behind you. So I'm going to recommend straightening your right leg and then pivoting a little bit on your left. Bring your right hand to your right hip. Look up over towards the ceiling and then raise your right arm up to the sky. So you're in a modification of side plank, Vashisthasana. Active energy through your fingertips. Bring the hand back to the hip. Lift the leg up. This is a really powerful way to get your outer hip kicking in, stabilizing at the hips, and activate your foot like you're pushing the wall away from you, behind you. Keep the upper body stable as you lower this leg and lift it. Lower the leg and lift it. And you're welcome, by the way, to have your toes curled under, whatever you need to do with the leg that's on the floor to feel stable. You can put your hand on your belly if you tend to back bend here. And one last round. Draw your knee in, press through the hands, downward facing dog. Optional vinyasa, shift it forward to plank. Lower down as you wish, maybe knees down, half chaturanga. Back bend of your choice. I'm a big fan of locust pose, just lifting and lengthening everything in the back of the body, or lifting and contracting everything in the back of the body, and then up and back down dog. From down dog, please lower down to your knees. Straighten out your other leg, in this case my left. You're going to pivot perhaps on your right. Top hand to your hip. Top hand to the sky, modification of Vashisthasana of side plank. Lift this leg that is on top and lower. Lift and lower. Get a sense of outer hip engaged just between the back pocket and the side seam of your pants, that area. And you want to keep your ribs in. Keep your core connected, so you could also put your hand there on your belly. Last one. Lower the leg. Come straight into plank. Roll to your tiptoes. Optional knees down. Half or full chaturanga. Lifting from the heart. Squeezing the shoulder blades towards one another. Lengthen. Down dog. We've got a slow motion walk to the front of the yoga mat. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root. Rise it up. Exhale, palms together over your heart. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Please step the right leg to the back of your mat. Lower down to that back knee and rise up into an Anjaneyasana. So you're going to press your pelvis forward, press the thumbs together, the hands together over the heart, lifting the sternum to your thumbs, squeezing the shoulder blades back, and if you feel comfortable, arms by the ears. Lift the chest. Exhale, lower. Straighten out through your front leg. It doesn't have to be as straight as it could possibly be, but just as much as you want. And then bend in, root your hands, step back to plank. Squeeze your glutes. Roll it forward, lower down. Lift, heart opens. Lengthen. Draw from the belly, down dog. Let's take another nice complete breath here in down dog, active through the arms. And we're going to slow motion walk to the front of the mat again. I'm going to turn around so you guys can see better. On your inhale, rise halfway up. Now this uses some muscles in your back. It also uses your glutes and your hamstrings, this simple action. So maybe put your hands at the back of your legs, see if you can feel those muscles getting a little bit more firm. And then soften as you bend your knees, let the head get heavy. Let's do that again, halfway. Exhale, soften. Halfway up. Exhale, soften and fold, full Uttanasana. I like to bend my knees in Uttanasana because this gives the hamstrings a little bit of a rest rather than kind of yanking on them with the knees straight. Let's take the left foot back this time. Please lower your back knee down. Press the pelvis forward, and we begin by initiating movement from the muscles around the spine. So we're lifting up, and then arms up, Anjaneyasana, and then hands down as you straighten your front leg. Bend in and straighten. Doesn't have to be a static pull. And then bend into your front knee. Root your hands on either side of this front foot. Lift your back knee. Step it back. Find your way to straight to down dog or through the vinyasa if you'd like. And it can be any variation. So one soft version is to drop your knees, chin and chest. Just take the tiniest little cobra pose. You don't even have to lift your legs. You can just do upper body locust, baby cobra. And then even instead of down dog, soften even further if you'd like by taking it to child's pose. Now you'll notice that I have a habit of curling my toes under in child's pose. I think this toe mobility, especially spreading the toes here, is really, really important for a lot of functional movements. So feel free to join me in that or to keep the tops of your feet to the ground. And then downward facing dog, everybody. Exhale, lower your knees down. Rise up into a half kneeling position. And we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Drive the knuckles down, lift the chest. Draw the knuckles up. Keep kind of punching the heart forward. Back of the neck long. Chest rises. And then from neutral, hands to your hips, shift your weight to your left. Slow motion, set your right foot out in front of you. So we're going to pivot on the standing leg so that you come into what I call the proposal position. So we're going to bend in and out just like this. It's kind of a lazy side lunge action. And then from this neutral position, so an upright position, lean forward, park your same side elbow on this front leg, so right arm to the right leg, and then top arm by your ear. Bend in and straighten a few times. So same thing that we did earlier. You can go from the depth of the lunge, this time in a side lunge. Earlier we were in Anjaneyasana. And then you can back out of it and you can straighten that front leg into gate pose. Bend in, find your way into the side lunge. And then back out of it into gate pose. Hand can land wherever. And then last one, bend in. Find gate pose. And then one of my favorite things to do lately, root your hands to the ground, leg stays out to the side. So you're facing the long edge of your yoga mat now. And you're just going to rock back and forth. I'm halfway in table pose with one leg randomly out to the side. So 3 limbs are in table. Rocking back and forth, back and forth. Let's bring this leg in. Other leg reaches out. And do the same thing on the other side. So the rocking back and forth in table pose. Healing for the inner thighs. And then rise up, coming into a partial kneeling position and coming into the proposal position. So again, pelvis is going to drop down and up, this sort of lazy side lunge. And we're going to bring the left elbow to the left leg or the right elbow to the right leg. Drop in and out. And as you drop in, you might reach your arm overhead and then rock back and find an expression of gate pose. Drop in, hand can be on the hip or arms by the ear, and drop out, finding some expression of gate. Back and forth at your own breath pace. Hip abduction, a little side bending, a little bit of rib mobility as we get into the breath here. And as you rise back up, hands to the pelvis, slowly bring both limbs back, both legs back to kneeling. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Switch up the thumb that's on the top so that it feels a little strange to you. Bend your elbows on purpose. Drive the elbows towards one another. Lift your chest, knuckles down. Exhale. Lower, set your hands down to the ground. Rise up and back, downward facing dog. And from down dog, inhale, shift forward to plank. Squeeze your glutes. Roll to your tiptoes, lower down. Back bend of your choice. Exhale, lengthen. Downward facing dog. And we're going to play with a little bit of the relationship between scapular stability and hip stability, really. So lower back down to your knees. We're going to come onto the outside forearm and shift into a very, very modified version of side plank. So I've bent my knees so that my shins are parallel to the short edge of the yoga mat. My forearm is parallel to the other short edge of the yoga mat. And we're going to drive the shins down. So this uses the outer hip at the bottom, the inner thigh at the top to lift up. You could probably feel your core kicking in too, and quite a few muscles of stability working around your shoulder. Even though this doesn't look as fancy as a side plank, it takes a lot of the same stability, but it just breaks it down with less joints in the way. So it's still really challenging. Drop the hips down, adjust as needed, lift the hips up. Drop the hips down, lift the hips up. Drop the hips and lift and drop and lift. Come on down onto your forearms. Find your way into forearm plank. And then rise up into dolphin. And just spend about 3 full breaths in dolphin. I'm going to be moving just to change sides. After your third breath, lower down to the knees. Again, bring your shins parallel, this time facing the other direction, and bring your forearm parallel. So outer hip is going to push down. Top hand, by the way, if you found it to be surprisingly challenging, you can bring your top hand down to the floor in front of you, and you're going to lift and lower. Again, lift and lower. Try to keep the thighs together so that top leg activates. Lift and lower. And then lift and just give it a little bit of a hold right here. All the way down. This time, come right onto your belly, come into the Sphinx pose again. So forearms directly underneath your shoulders. Elbows directly underneath your shoulders. Curl your toes under. And you're kind of keeping your pelvis down, but you're going to try to lift your ribs completely off the ground and see if you can get all of the skin up until your pelvis off the ground. Shoulder blades are active, core is active, breath is full in your upper body. Come into Sphinx pose, fully into the back bend. And then aim to integrate, aim to get those muscles engaged around the shoulders, around the ribs. Your intercostals are helping here. Your obliques are helping. You're pulling the belly off the floor. Transversus abdominis is helping. Rectus abdominis is helping. Glutes are engaged. Inhale, belly down, heart forward. And last one of these, so connecting to core, ribs in. Rise, breath to the back body. Float your hips, find your way to forearm plank, and then right back to dolphin. 2 breaths here in dolphin pose. Straighten up through your arms. And from downward facing dog, walk your feet all the way to the front of the yoga mat. Feel free to jump. On your inhale, please rise halfway up. On your exhale, please bend your knees and soften. Inhale, arms come all the way up. Arms by the ears. Exhale, palms together over the heart. We're going to add a little layer to what we did earlier. So earlier we interlaced our fingers pressed up and side bent. Now we're going to reach the arms up. Catch hold of your left wrist with your right arm. Take a little bend in your knees and step back with your left leg. So you're going to get this gorgeous side bend here. On your inhale, rise it up. Release everything. Take a little bend in your knees and step your other leg back. So in this case, your left leg. Arms reach up, catch hold of your left wrist with your right and lean into it. Inhale, rise up. Rise right back to neutral. Exhale, palms through. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold it down and step your left foot to the back. Keep dropped into your pelvis. It doesn't have to be 90 degrees, but you want to stay dropped in here. Inhale, arms rise. Open out the arms to W shape. So cactus shape, it's also called. W shape if the elbows are a little below the shoulders. Either one is fine. And then inhale, arms up. Exhale, right back down. Feel your shoulder blades squeeze. Try drawing your ribs in like you're still belly down on the ground the way we did a moment ago. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, elbows down. Ribs in. Inhale, arms up. And then exhale, palms together over your heart. Come into a 45-degree position. Try to bring your torso in line with your back leg, back of the neck long. And then inside hand down to the ground, outside arm up to the sky. All hands down, step it back, plank. Roll forward, lower down. Back bend of your choice. Exhale, lengthen child's pose or downward facing dog. And stay connected to your breath. So you can join me in walking forward. Rising halfway up again, activating those back legs. Exhale, folding, softening at the knees, and stepping your right foot to the back. Drop down through the pelvis, lift the heart, and then inhale, arms up. Exhale, find your way into cactus arms. So stay connected here. Ribs draw in. Inhale, arms up. You can go into the back bend. Exhale, draw the ribs in just like we were back, belly down on the ground. Inhale, arms up. Go into a little bit more depth with the back bend. Exhale, arms out, ribs in. Inhale, up. Exhale, ribs in, palms over the heart. Lean forward 45 degrees. Try to get that nice long line from the crown of the head through that back leg. Back of the neck long, chin down. You'll take your inside hand, root it down. Outside arm, reach it up. Back leg fierce. And then all hands down. And step it back to plank. Move through the vinyasa of your choice or take a resting shape. And one last breath, down dog or child's pose. Let's lower down to the knees, coming into Virasana or Vajrasana for just a moment. So I want you to bring one hand to the back of your upper back. So like you're patting your back, and then same thing with the other one. And then take one hand to your low back, like you're trying to scratch the middle of your back, and then same thing with the other one. And then I want you to do opposite actions, one and then the other. You can either be sitting or you can be in kneeling, like I just got into. Try to keep your ribs in as you do this. It's an active version of Gomukhasana. And just notice any differences one side to the next. We've done some core work in this practice. We've done some shoulder stabilizing, some outer hip work, some external rotation hip work. Snuck that in there. Inner thigh work. And now we're getting to the shoulders. And then when you get your hands set to one side, just bring your fingers as close as you can to one another, right? Ribs are going to draw back here. This is another reason why we practiced on the ground. Release, and then take it to the other side. So notice any differences one side to the next. And release. And then you're going to go ahead and come to standing in a way that feels sustainable and functional to you. So try to do it without your hands. Come to the front of your mat. Step your right leg back. Crescent lunge. Arms are going to reach up, hands to the back of the head. Press the heart forward, lift the chest. And then I want you to reach left hand, so it's opposite hand, down that back leg, right arm to the sky. Right leg is in back, so right arm reaches, left arm down. Try to pretend that somebody's pulling you in two different directions. And then hand to the back of the upper back. Bottom arm comes up. Maybe the fingers touch, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. You're going to lift your chest and then sink your back heel down. Draw in, round. It's a little cat and cow here. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale into cat spine. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale into cat spine. And this time, round it in. Try to come to the inside of your front leg. Inhale, heart lifts. Open up through the arms. Lean back into that back arm. And then straighten up. Optional vinyasa here. Or you can just go straight to the other side. Those of you in the vinyasa, don't spend too much time in down dog. Join me here with the left leg back, right leg forward in crescent lunge. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, right arm down the back leg, left arm to the sky. Pull in two different directions. This is good scapular mobility work. Really reaching, getting a little bit of a twist, a lot of shoulder blade mobility and movement. And then bring the hands as close as you can to that Gomukhasana shape here. Draw your ribs in. Sink your back heel down. And start to do a little cat and cow. So rounding the spine. Exhale. Inhaling, lifting the chest. Rounding the spine, exhale. Inhale, lift the chest. And round, round, round. Inhale, rise. And then round and lower into something that's going to look a little bit like a humble warrior shape. And then rise up, find your way opening through the arms, warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2, and then a little dancing warrior shape. All the way down, hands root. Step it back, find your way to plank. Lower, lift, connect, pull, downward facing dog. And 3 more breaths here. Good, and settle down to the ground. So we're going to take the outside leg, pivot on it, and come right back into the shape that we were doing before. So the back leg is down. This time we're going to add a little bit of spice. So top hand is on your hip. You're going to push down with your straight leg, push down with your straight arm, and then see if you can float your bottom knee up, straightening the leg and pushing that foot into the ground. Bend the knee and take it right back. And then exhale, all hands down, downward facing dog. 3 breaths in down dog. Lower down to your knees. Pivot on your other leg, straightening your top leg. And then you're going to root down through your straight arm, your straight leg, top hand to the hip. You're going to push down and then maybe lift your bottom leg, reach it out in front of you. The foot can be resting on the floor, floating in the air, and tuck it right back in. All hands down. Optional vinyasa. Feel free to go straight to downward facing dog. And then lower down to your knees. We're going to play with one simple shape that integrates the hip actions, especially the glutes, with the scapular actions that I am always seeking to activate in downward facing dog. But to get there, we're going to start on our backs and then we're going to come right back up. Okay? So, come onto your back. Legs are going to be straight. So remember all of the things we did in the beginning of practice, right? And flattening the back, the awareness of our center. You're going to bring one leg up towards the sky. Don't worry if the leg is fully straight or not. And the leg that's on the floor, I want you to dig that heel in and try to activate your glutes, your hamstrings. Basically just activate the back side of the leg that's still on the floor. You can put your hand there. So my left leg is still on the floor. I'm putting my hand back there. I can feel that my glutes are contracted. The muscles around the hip are actually like tighter than usual. And then you're going to bring your arms, if you've got the space, by your ears. Okay? So this is very much like a warrior 3 shape, but lying on your back. And you'll see where else this comes in to play in just a moment. So don't worry if your leg is straight again. Draw your knee back into your chest. Keep the leg that's on the ground really rooted down, pinky toes towards the sky. And then switch legs. Arms can come back by your side. That whole rib connection plays a big role here too. Leg that's still on the ground, in this case it's going to be my right leg. Pinky toes turn up, inner thigh comes on down. Left leg reaches. Notice any differences side to side. That's normal, but part of our personal practice can be attuning to our body's unique differences. Ribs stay down. leg is active. I'm digging the heel in. I'm hopefully feeling some glute activation on that side, even if you have to palpate it. And then you're going to reach your arms up, drop your ribs down, and then reach the arms by the ears. They may not come all the way to the ears, but they're going to come hopefully close. Keep digging the heel down into the ground of the lift of the extended leg. And then draw the knee into your chest. And then we're going to practice a way to get up off the ground without using your hands. So this is a pretty fun circusy way. But I've got my shins crossed close to the ankles. I'm going to use a little bit of momentum, create a little bit of a C shape with my spine. Arms are reaching forward to help with that momentum. And see if you can pop all the way up to standing. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, melt down. Fold in half. Walk yourself back, downward facing dog. Keep the same strong action through the arms and then come into three-legged dog, which is the same shape we did on our back. Inner thigh leads the way. You can bend through your standing knee as much as you need to kind of lift and lengthen through that lifted leg. Draw your ribs in. Point your pinky toes down. Push through the arms. Lower this leg. Shake it out a little bit. And then try on your other leg. Inner thigh leads the way. Glutes active. Inner thigh up. Toes spread. Arms really reaching. Ribs in. So much going on here. And exhale. Lower down. Lower to your knees. Rest your hips back and rest your forehead on the ground. This pose has a number of names. Even in Sanskrit, I've heard it called Garbhasana, Balasana, Child's Pose. It's not always restful for everybody, particularly if you've got any hip impingement going on. This can be uncomfortable. But see if you can find a way to rest within it. Then we're going to bring our hands by either side. Rise up. Cross out your shins. Come into first a comfortable seated position. And then I'm going to ask you to take your left leg and put it flat to the floor in front of you. Right hand crosses over to that shin, but not in a pulling kind of way. It's a resting way. Left hand to the back of the head, start to spin. So you come into your spinal twist here, using the actual muscles around your spine. And your inhale, return to normal or neutral. There is no returning to normal, yeah. Walk your hand out and get a nice little side bend. Full breath into the side that is on top. And inhaling up, last thing we're going to do on this side. You can bring the legs into whatever configuration feels good for you. Maybe it's cross-legged, or if you want to experiment with it, you can come into something that looks like Gomukhasana. Now, in the olden days, I used to be really interested in getting my knee directly over my other knee. And now, not so much. I kind of just figure out where it wants to land, and I hang out there. And sometimes, very often, actually, I'll grab a pillow and sit on that pillow. So, whatever leg is on top, that's the arm that's going to go on bottom. So you're going to bring that same side arm to your low back the way we did before. Other arm up, pats the back, maybe the fingers meet. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. Option to lean forward if this would feel good to you. I think I'm going to stay upright. That feels really nice to me right now. Completely release. Come back upright and unravel the arms. And then we're going to try to do this without using the hands. Bring your other foot flat. If it's your right foot that's flat, left hand comes to the shin, right hand to the back of the head. And just spin as far as you can, using the strength of the muscles right around the spine. not the arm so much to come into this. So see if you can liberate that arm and still hold the depth of the twist. Full connection with breath. Inhale, make your way back to neutral, not normal. Walk your hand out and keep the other hand to the back of the head and just get a nice little side bend here. You'll notice that I've bent my elbow that's down on the bottom. Breath into the side ribs. Rise up with breath, finding any position that feels interesting and inquisitive in your body. No straining, no stressing. Maybe it's knee over knee position for Gomukhasana. And then the same side of the leg that's on top, whether your legs are cross-legged or whatever, that's the one that's going to go behind your low back, other hand to your upper back. Maybe the hands meet. Inhale and lift the heart. Option to exhale and fold and round. Eyelids are really heavy now. We're on our way to Shavasana. Feel a gorgeous sense of stacking. Pay attention to all the little sensations. The right versus left sitting bone. If you close your eyes as I did, open your eyes, unravel the legs, and position your hips in the middle of your mat if you're coming onto your back. And if you would like to, you can grab a pillow, as I just did, and you can stay upright, especially if you're practicing this in the middle of the day, right? It can feel really nice to do a seated meditation as opposed to laying down. And sometimes in the middle of the day, you need to lay down. So it might depend on the time of day, it might depend on your energy level today. Pick whatever would feel most nourishing, most supportive to you. Back of the neck is long, chin drops down, whether you're on your back or upright. Drop into an awareness of sensation. Is your body even right to left? Drop into an awareness of breath, almost an immersion of breath. Inviting an extraordinary softness of all the muscles around the face. Across the forehead, between the eyebrows, around the eyes. Our first task in this practice of yoga is to be more present. The past is always sneaking up on us, and the future is always causing us to be pulled forward. But dwelling too much on those can be depressive or anxious, and it can rob us of our vital energy. And so one of the many answers, multifold answers, I should say, to those ailments is to be more present now. Easier said than done. But the breath helps. Sensation helps. And the second task, which goes beautifully with the first, is to slow down the thought waves of the mind. Each time you catch yourself thinking about something other than the present moment, return awareness to sensation, to breath. Gently deepening your breath wherever you are. If you want to stay a little longer, you're welcome to do that as well. And with that deepening breath, wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, stretching long through the limbs. Getting out any gentle wiggles that would feel nourishing to you. If you're on your back, draw your knees to your chest, roll to one side, taking your time using your arms to press up to seated. And once you're upright, press the palms together over your heart. With profound gratitude, I want to thank each of you for showing up to practice, to play, to be present. Namaste.